Good evening and thanks for joining us on Nationwide today. I am Elizabeth Omori. We begin with the redesigned Naira note. The Central Bank of Nigeria says there is no need to further extend the February 10, 2023 deadline for the redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes, as modalities have been put in place to adequately punish those subverting the process. Governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, who addressed members of the diplomatic community in Abuja, says Nigeria desires to have a seamless cashless policy like it's obtained in their countries and needs their support. Leah Katung Babatunde reports.
There has been a raging controversy since the commencement of the Naira redesign policy. Some governors had approached the Supreme Court on the matter, in which the Apex Court placed a hold on the process till 15th February 2023. This gathering of diplomats at the instance of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN is to intimate them on the process and seek their support. While acknowledging the suffering of Nigerians, Governor Godwin Emefiele observed that gains of the effective implementation of the policy outweighs the pains that could scrap 4% of the nation's inflation numbers.
This is achievable as data from our market sources indicate that prices of grains and key staples around Suleja and Lambata markets, for instance, have generally been on the downward trend since the beginning of this policy. The price of soybeans has dropped from 30,000 to 22,000, maize from 18 to 16,000, and the bull from 400,000 to 330,000.
He said the financial system is adequately able to address the concerns being faced in the cashless process, and those subverting it will face the consequences of their actions.
We're trying to make things good for our country. We cannot allow even some of our countrymen who want to get involved in illegal and illicit kind of businesses to truncate our efforts and in making the country a good place. They will be arrested. We've seen videos of people who are also stamping money on people in parties, and we have said it is illegal.
The Apex Bank maintained that the amount being recalled is not the same that will be plowed back, as no one should hold large volumes of cash outside the banking system. The meeting then went behind closed doors, and eventually they filed out, and no one spoke to the press afterwards. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatunde, NTA News.
To other matters, President Muhammadu Buhari has called for the lifting of the Bangla visa ban clamped down on Nigerians by the government of the United Arab Emirates, UAE. The president canvassed this position during a telephone conversation with the president of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The Nigerian leader also condoles with Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on the death of his mother-in-law, and important issues of mutual concerns between the two countries also came up. He noted that recent bilateral relations granted, which generated by consular issues relating to the behavior of some Nigerians in the UAE, are being ironed out, explaining that no country, including Nigeria, will condone illegal behaviors. The statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says President Buhari expressed the readiness of the Nigerian government to apply necessary sanctions through a proper judicial process against anyone identified to have committed criminal acts in the UAE, noting that the issue should be handled by relevant security and intelligence agencies of the two countries. President Buhari also requested a resumption of the suspended operations of Emirates Airline in the country, assuring the UAE leader that the issue of Emirates Fund is receiving appropriate attention alongside those of other foreign airlines operating in Nigeria. Now, the 22-member Presidential Transition Council constituted by President Muhammadu Buhari has been inaugurated to facilitate and manage the 2023 Presidential Transition Program. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who inaugurated the council, says President Buhari expects states to replicate the transition process. Metari Ikmen tells us more.
This Presidential Transition Council is a product of Executive Order 14 of 2023. Its chairperson, Boss Mustafa, describes the council as a demonstration of President Buhari's commitment to hand over power to the next president and strengthen key governance institutions that support Nigeria's democratic process.
The Council shall have all powers necessary for the execution of its functions under this executive order and shall conduct its business in line with national ethics as espoused in Section 23 of the Constitution.
The Presidential Transition Council is now an institutional legacy domiciled in the SGF's office. It will provide a template for seamless transition of power from one administration to another. The Council will organize for the security of the President-elect and the Vice President-elect, including coordinating security briefings. It will organize the office of the President-elect, including staffing for the transition team. The Council will also coordinate the briefings of the President-elect, facilitate communication between the outgoing President and the President-elect, and prepare for the presidential swearing-in ceremony.
In my capacity as chair of this council, I will do everything within my power to ensure we meet the expectations of Mr. President. I enjoin each of us to put in even more effort in ensuring the next administration receives every support needed to make an early and a quick start.
The Council hits the ground running with an inaugural meeting, and in the coming weeks, it will be preoccupied with ensuring that the next administration understands the reforms and legacies of the Buhari administration for continuity in governance. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide on NTA. Let's head to Lagos, where Adeola is standing by with some reports. Over to you, Adeola.
Thank you, Elizabeth. February 14 is described as Lovers' Day, a day set aside to celebrate love in its entirety. Lagosians are not left out, and Annie Daniels says they wished they could have more.
Valentine's Day, celebrated on the 14th of February every year, originated as a Christian feast day in honor of a Christian martyr, Saint Valentine.
Soldiers were forbidden to marry so that they would be able to concentrate on their military duties. But unfortunately, some of them were, while not being married, they were engaging in immoral behavior. So what Valentine did was to correct that error by secretly wedding the soldiers, some of the soldiers. So when the authorities found out, he was arrested, tried, and then put to death.
Lagosians are celebrating the day, but wish it is better than this.
Now, if I go to market, I see something that is okay with my husband, I will give it to him and say, darling, take. This is what I presented for you for this time.
Could be your sister, your brother, if possible, your father. You can go out with your father, Baba, I love you, get him a gift. Fine, you sit down there, you have something good.
This particular Valentine is a kind of like a broke kind of Valentine, like we are all broke.
In this shop are gifts that connote the day. They include chocolates, flowers, teddy bears, and more.
Customers, they come, we just pray it continues like this.
So someone asked us to come and do this. It's got money, it's got champagne, it's got beautiful flowers. Nigerian men are really trying. They are very, very, very romantic and nice.
Cash crunch or not, Lagosians are making the best of the day. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And moving on, Nigerians are set to assemble at the designated polling centers to exercise their civic responsibility at the next election. How prepared are security agencies and the Independent National Electoral Commission in ensuring peaceful and fair election? Lynn Leneke reports.
On February 25, Nigerians will have the opportunity to exercise their rights to vote. As the countdown to the 2023 general election continues, preparations by the relevant authorities are in full swing. To demonstrate the level of preparedness of the Independent National Electoral Commissions, a mock accreditation exercise has been conducted. The process which was a success, has been commended by many.
They are really prepared and everything is well organized.
There was no any delay in it. It is very fast.
Although INEC has pledged to hold free, fair and credible elections across the country, Nigerians preparing to exercise their rights to vote in a few weeks are hoping INEC will deliver on its repeated promises. In Lagos, security agencies are already working around the clock on strategies to ensure watertight security to achieve a non-violent exercise.
We are working with other agencies and we have different mandates within the election security. We are as good as fully prepared for the elections, and with their support, when I say their support, giving us timely information about what's going on around them, we'll be able to pull this off.
If the government is able to put a strategy in place to the extent that political talks and thuggery before, during, and after election are caged, are tamed to the barest minimum, I can tell you with all audacity that 90% of electoral violence, electoral malpractices, electoral fraud would have been resolved.
Security authorities have also issued strong warnings to those intending to stir up trouble not to engage in activities that could jeopardize the peaceful atmosphere during the elections. Voters, on the other hand, are not relenting in playing their part in ensuring a smooth process. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
Those are the reports from Lagos for now. Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. Nationwide will continue with Salamatu in Kaduna. When we return from this break, to stay with us.
Kaduna, BC, Akman, Unduka, how I want to do on election day? On election day, I go take my PVC. When I retire, they vote. I broom, I go put my hand over for Tinubu. On election day, I go take my PVC. When I retire, they vote. I broom, I go put my hand over for Tinubu.
People of Nigeria, make we all come out on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as president. Make Nigeria for better. Make you put your hand for APC. The party will show broom. Not forget, now broom you go put your hand in. Bam!
On election day, I go take my PVC. When I retire, they vote. I broom, I go put my hand over for Tinubu.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids. Milo 3-in-1 is such a smart choice. Milo, energy to go further.
From Nestle.
Candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA Television College JOS for the 2022-2023 two-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB. Courses available at the college include Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism, and Television Engineering Technology. Interested candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English and mathematics. They must also have a minimum score of 100 in the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. For more information, please contact NTA Television College JOS or the Marketing Department of any NTA station nationwide. Registrar, Announcer. To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news, or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
You join us here on Nationwide. Still on the upcoming general elections, about 90% of permanent voters' cards have been collected in Kaduna State, preparatory to 2023 general elections. Administrative Secretary, Independent National Electoral Commission, Kaduna State Office, Awal Muhammad Mashi stated this at stakeholders meeting in Kaduna. Let's hear more from Dauda Muhammad.
While Nigerians are still counting days to the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission is doing all within its mandate for the successful conduct of the elections.
We have been having enlightenment sessions all through, right from the top to the bottom.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, Kaduna State Office, is holding meetings with relevant stakeholders, including traditional institutions, religious leaders, security agencies, road transport workers, media organizations, among others, to brief them on the level of preparedness for the elections. Issues concerning bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) were discussed.
That we are going to give an election, the like of which has never ever been seen. And this will be possible because of the use of the BVAS machine. I think it's very unique in the sense that it's the first time in Africa that such a machine is being used. And that machine is predicated upon one man, one vote.
INEC says the stakeholders' engagement will be a continuous exercise. Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
Away from electoral matters, in addition to impacting knowledge and values to the society, Islamic scholars in Kaduna are making moves to become entrepreneurs. To actualize this initiative, an Islamic organization, Al-Nasr Victory of Nigeria, has trained about 800 Islamic scholars from across the state. Haruna Muhammad reports.
Seated in this hall are Islamic scholars from across the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State who have undergone empowerment training for them to be self-reliant. Abdul Ahmad and Halilu Ibrahim are among the trainees and are now masters in satellite installation.
It's going to guide me how am I going to take responsibility of myself and all my families, inshallah.
This idea came during the COVID-19 pandemic when all business activities are grounded.
Our attention was drawn that many of the imams were rendered doing nothing, so they have no income and they needed something to rely on. So we felt let's train them to have some job to do.
It is believed that these skills acquired by the participants will go a long way in catering for their needs. Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
That completes our package from Kaduna. Elizabeth, is back to you.
Thank you so much. Still on political reports, President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed to Nigerians to vote for the APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in the forthcoming presidential election come February 25, 2023. This was during the APC mega rally in Owerri, the Imo State capital.
The chairman of the party and the other members have been mentioned. We are here today. We are very grateful for your turnout. We are very grateful for your support. And God willing, Aswaju is going to be delivered as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Candidate promised that the developmental projects of the ruling APC will not stop if voted into power. He added that Imo State will become an attractive destination for tourists.
We are going to add value to your real estate. reconstruct, re-beautify your roads. We are going to invest in education to all of you youths. 4 years of university education must be 4 years.
An end to poverty and provision of basic infrastructure to the people of Rivers State are all part of promises the presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party, Yabagi Yusuf Sani, will fulfill if elected as Nigeria's next president. Yabagi Yusuf Sani made other promises when his campaign team went to Ukujagu Island in Rivers State, Port Harcourt, where he also advised the people to vote wisely and hold him and his party accountable if they fail to deliver on their mandates.
When we form the government in this country, like I said before, I'll repeat it, this place, this very island, will be one of those places that will rejoice. Amen. Definitely be linked with means of access to the city, that is a bridge, and any other means of infrastructure that you need. Yes.
The presidential candidate during their rally flagged off the governorship campaign for the Action Democratic Party governorship candidates in Rivers State. Meanwhile, an election observer group, the Center for Transparency Advocacy, has urged the Independent Electoral Commission to increase voter awareness on the usage of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, as the 2023 elections draw near. Timothy Yusuf reports.
The Center for Transparency Advocacy believes that the BVAS is an improvement over the previous card reader and will reduce electoral malpractice in Nigeria based on its observations of the recently concluded INEC mock accreditation exercise. The center, however, suggests more attention be given to potential flashpoints throughout the country and that security and party agents be made more aware on the guidelines at polling units on election day, as well as observers' rights.
The rule still is that voters will not take any electronic device to the polling cubicle so that they don't take the pictures of the ballot paper.
The center emphasized that observers across the states note that some PVCs could not be accredited by the BVAS because the cards are defaced and could not be captured by the machine. Also, some voters were of the view that the mock exercise was an actual election, that there was not going to be another election after the mock exercise. INEC to take note and embark on more public awareness programs. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
As pre-election activities climax, Nigerians have described the forthcoming 2023 general elections in the country as a game of hope. They're considering the new wind of voter consciousness and enthusiasm of electorate to participate in an electoral process that enshrines sustainable economic development as a key factor. Ifoma Ihoji brings us the opinion of some public affairs analysts in Bayelsa State on the recent heightened political awareness.
The forthcoming 2023 general elections, according to some Nigerians, could arguably go down as the most exciting since Nigeria's 1999 fourth democratic journey. For diverse but interwoven reasons, Nigerians of all ages need to be part of the electoral processes. It's against the voter apathy experienced in the past years.
2023 is coming with a glimmer of hope. Can we get it right? And so the choice between Nigerians and then the dead is about those of us who are alive to ensure that we act appropriately.
Because this is yet another opportunity for us to determine the fate of the future Nigeria that we all anticipate.
When we have a smooth process that the people, they elect who represent them, that will definitely push the whoever that emerged as the leader to be responsible to the people.
If Nigerians are to make a case in 2023, the focus is expected to shift from a divisive national politics to intentional voting of an individual with sound ideology, political principles, and an actual plan for effective governance. Nigerians hope for the best. In Yenegua, Ifoma Aihoje, NTA News.
Towards achieving a safe environment for the conduct of credible polls, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has reiterated the commitment of the force in dealing with miscreants who may want to cause trouble during the conduct of the general elections. Francis Form reports that a directive was given during a strategic managers meeting at the force headquarters Abuja on ideal environment for elections.
This first conference of strategic managers of the force for year 2023 is to review the internal security of the country and reassess strategies towards the 2023 general elections.
You are to preclude the activities of quasi-security agents in all political activities who may be employed by politicians from participating in the electoral process. Likewise, ensure that you closely monitor the illicit activities of Civilian Jet Task Force, National Union of Road Transport Workers, Amotekun, Ebubagu, and Hunters Association and other state-owned security outfits with a view to checkmating their activities within your jurisdiction.
The Inspector General of Police tasked the strategic police managers to safeguard the public space in synergy with other security agencies.
You are hereby warned to ensure the emplacement of firm actions that will deter attacks on INEC facilities, assets across your AORs, especially as this crucial season.
The IGP also warned officers and men to remain neutral in ensuring free, fair and credible elections. Francis Form, NTA News.
Coalition for Good Governance and Change Initiative, a non-governmental civil society organization, says it is ready to project, protect and defend the legacy of the current administration as it progresses towards a transition. The group wants those occupying public offices to use the remaining days in the life of this government to focus attention on the fundamental agenda of the Buhari administration, particularly in the areas of upholding the ideals of anti-corruption, human rights and democratic governance among key priority areas of target. This is in addition to the fight against insecurity and building a stronger economy.
As Nigerians, we believe that the youth in leadership position should be more proactive, coordinated, and humane in discharging their duties while protecting the integrity and image of President Muhammadu Buhari, especially in the areas of anti-corruption, human rights, and democratic governance. At this eve of transition, we are ready to protect Mr. President's image and preserve his legacy.
Coalition for Good Governance expresses hope over the increasing number of youth participation in governance being showcased by the current APC-led government. Let's head to Benin now, where Ogochukwuka is ready with some reports for us. Ogochukwuka.
Elizabeth, welcome to Benin. And still talking youth matters and election, the attention of Nigerian students and youths is being drawn to the security implications of electoral violence as election days get close. This is the focus of a conference organized by the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, ZUB, held in Benin. Anguli Okolo has details.
During elections, youths are the ones most vulnerable and alleged to be used by politicians to cause all forms of electoral offences, thereby endangering their lives and future. As the country prepares to go to the polls on February 25 and March 11, there is need to sensitize Nigerian students and youths on the dangers of electoral violence.
Gives Nigerian students a real hope that the election will be violence-free. It will even serve as a medium for us to make our people understand one thing.
Heads of security agencies in Edo State, among other stakeholders, advised the youths to be of good conduct.
Thank God the Independent Electoral Commission has come up with papers to some extent. That will go a long way in reducing electoral violence. This election is your election. This election is your future. This election is your life. So it must
Participants were given time to ask questions on some burning issues and answers provided.
We have to be upright, not to say our vote this time around, to ensure a brighter tomorrow.
They promised not to engage in anything that would jeopardize the process. In Benin, Anwuli Okolo, NTA News.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention is taking further steps towards strengthening its capacity to respond quickly to infectious disease outbreak in Nigeria. To this end, the agency has inaugurated its Southwest Zonal Reference Public Health Laboratory at the Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital at Ekiti. Ayodeji Ogunshaki reports.
Before now, the people of Ekiti State have to travel far to other states to access medical laboratories with the aim of addressing public health problems that in most cases require critical laboratory examinations. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, aside its mandate of providing response to challenges of public health emergencies, also has the strategic objectives of developing public health laboratory service network.
To serve a hub for quality management systems, even for all of the other public health labs that are in the state, and provides an opportunity for training.
This, the state governor, Biodun Oyebanji, described as beginning of a new thing that will obviate the need for referral to faraway centers after making diagnosis in the state.
In addition to this is the efficient and timely generation of data that will serve as a database for laboratory surveillance and epidemic-prone diseases in the states.
The public health laboratory with world standard facilities will not only serve Ekiti, but neighboring states in the southwest and beyond, which the State Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Dr. Oyebanji Filani, and the Chief Medical Director of the hospital, Professor Kayode Olabanji, described as value added to the health sector in the state. From Ado Ekiti, Ayodeji Ogunshaki, NTA News.
And we'll be heading for a commercial break at this point. When we return, Felicia will be coming up from Jos with more reports. Please stay tuned.
The Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources has been instrumental to a number of successes of the Buhari administration. Join us on Tuesday, 6 to 6:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA for a documentary on the giant strides of this agency of government supporting economic growth and development.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids. Milo 3-in-1 is such a smart choice. Milo, energy to go further.
From Nestle.
She's fine.
You're still on to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Welcome to Jos. Beneficiaries of the National Social Investment Program in Plateau State say they owe the federal government gratitude for impacting their lives through various intervention programs. This was during a thank you conference in Jos. Grace Akwegotip has details in Jos. Grace.
From inception in 2016, the National Social Investment Program of the federal government has impacted positively on the lives of more than 28,000 beneficiaries in various intervention programs. They include alternate school program targeting out-of-school children and non-graduate skills acquisition program. Having benefited immensely from the various intervention programs, the beneficiaries are here gathered to appreciate stakeholders for the successful implementation of the programs.
It has actually reduced youth restiveness to a core, and we really thank Mr. President for this laudable program.
Graduated from a national diploma with the help of this program that has impacted me and helped me in terms of my education.
Same thing is for all the beneficiaries to say thank you to Mr. President, to the governor, legislators, so that they will expedite action on passing this law. So sustainability of the intervention will continue even after this administration.
The focal person adds that government will sustain efforts in addressing the needs of the poor and vulnerable. In Jos, Grace Akwegotip, NTA News.
And that's the much we can take from here. Let's rejoin Elizabeth in Abuja.
Thank you so much, Felicia. The difficulty being experienced by Nigerians in swapping their old Naira notes for the new ones has unsettled many people. This is because despite the Supreme Court's interim injunction that the old currency temporarily remains legal tender, many deposit banks refused to exchange them. Some legal practitioners speak on the implications of the bank's disobedience to the Apex Court's order.
The Supreme Court has come up with a decision extending the lifespan of the old currency from February 10th to 15th. So it's shocking for anybody to say that it ceases to be legal tender before the date that a competent court of law had ordered that it should be. So it is shocking. And that undermines the rule of law in this country. The CBN, by my opinion, has a moral obligation to respect that decision of the Supreme Court. Because if everybody decides to ignore the decision of the Apex Court, whether it affects them or whether they are parties or not.
Under normal circumstances, one would have expected that all authorities, agencies of government will comply. The decision of the Supreme Court arises from what I want to regard as a public interest litigation that has been taken to the Supreme Court in order to reduce the tension in the land. And I think that if that decision, if that ruling of the Supreme Court has not achieved anything, it has achieved the desire to ensure that that tension is reduced. So those who are arguing that the Central Bank is not a party to the suit, or that the federal government is not a party, or whoever is not a party to the suit, are doing so because they want to create and cause mischief in the land.
Slated for this Wednesday at the Supreme Court. Talking research now, members of the Governing Council of the Nigerian Institute for Social and Economic Research has been challenged to come up with research-based innovative policies and programs that will promote management excellence in Nigeria towards improved productivity. This was at the inauguration of the newly reconstituted Governing Council of the Institute in Abuja.
The Council shall be responsible for the determination of the overall policy of the Institute and in particular for the financial and operational programs of the Institute and for ensuring implementation of such policies and programs.
NISA's vision is to be a world-class think tank in the area of social and economic policy research. Our pledge to you as a council today, Honorable Minister, is that we will spare no effort in working closely with the management of NISA to ensure the Institute's vision and mission are navigated for visible impact.
To crime fighting, the Chief Traditional and Supreme Councils have commended President Muhammadu Buhari for the deployment of security operatives to combat banditry and criminality in Benue and neighboring states. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of the Chief Traditional Supreme Council meeting in Boko, the administrative headquarters of the Tiv Nation. Charles Alba reports. The
Traditional and Supreme Council, chaired by the paramount ruler of the Tiv Nation, His Royal Majesty Professor James Ayase, resolved on various reports received by the forum in a 10-point communique. The forum, apart from commending the federal government for drafting security operatives to crisis areas of Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba, urged the people to shun any acts capable of heating up the polity.
Also commended the actions of the Nasarawa State Governor with the Nasarawa State Council of Chiefs in taking timely actions to arrest the killings of Chief people and the destruction of their property in Nasarawa State.
The council also backed the Benue State Open Grazing Prohibition and Ranches Establishment Law 2017. The forum condemned the recent bombing of persons in Nasarawa State, as well as the blame game against the Benue State Governor, Samuel Ortom. Council, among other things, called on the electorate to peacefully exercise their franchise in the forthcoming general elections. Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom, who was conferred a traditional title of Inyakume Itiv, with his wife, Dr. Eunice, as Ishima Inyakume Itiv by the paramount ruler of the Tiv Nation, appreciated the traditional rulers for maintenance of peace in their domains and their contribution to good governance in the state.
This is a sign of giving me a pass back. So I'm not going to run away from all the challenges that I have, but I will stay firm and continue to live my life, especially with the fear of the Almighty.
The council urged all Tiv sons and daughters to make themselves available to be counted during the 2023 census and called on the relevant authorities to fully mobilize people for the exercise. From Boko, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Charles Abba there on crime fighting in Benue State. Now let's talk health. The Cross River State government is bringing to fruition the tenets of universal health coverage, as well as the state social welfare and health insurance scheme with a test run of the Cross River Pharmaceutical Factory, also known as Calafam. Paul Abel brings us details.
The Cross River Pharmaceutical Factory, the only one in South Nigeria, when in full operations, is to produce all types of drugs, including capsules, tablets, syrups, ointments, lotions, among others. Therefore, this test run of the facility is to pave way for the industrial cleaning and finally commercial production, subject to the approval of NAFDAC.
The Cross River State sets this with an intent to decouple itself from the continuous dependence on federal allocation. The export of these drugs across West Africa and even beyond under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement becomes very lucid. We believe that at the fullness of time, the government and people of Cross River State will realize that this project sockets perfectly into our concept of universal health coverage, and more in particular, the social welfare, social insurance and health insurance program.
In Nigeria, WHO compliance factory is not more than 10. This is one of them. That is the uniqueness. It's following all standard of WHO. We built all system like WHO. What the water generation, it is also very purified generation. with EDI systems. EDI system is nobody, I think, in the Nigeria, 2 or 3 companies using that EDI systems.
The governor further requested for the private sector to serve as an off-taker to ensure the commercial production and day-to-day running of the factory for stability and viability. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
A new remuneration structure for the National Identity Management Commission NIPSI personnel set to be more than 300% increment has been approved by President Muhammadu Buhari to take effect from January 2023. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Isa Ali Pantami gave the indication at a ministerial retreat for the governing board and management of NIPSI in Abuja. Victor Azu reports.
It's a ministerial retreat for board and management of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI. In recent years, the agency has taken significant strides in actualizing its mandate, but there's still some way to go. If they needed any motivation to push boundaries, then this announcement by the minister of the new salary structure for NIMSI it is.
The new condition of service of NIMSI has been approved by my principal president, Muhammadu Buhari, and also just 3 weeks ago, the new salary scale has also been approved and with effect from January 2023, as clearly stated.
To set the ball rolling, Director General of NIMSI, Aliyu Aziz, provides an insight into what participants can expect at the 3-day event.
So today's program promises to be intellectually stimulating, deeply engaging, and ultimately rewarding.
Nigerians will be expecting NIMSI to break all barriers towards full actualization of its mandate, particularly with a 300% salary raise. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
Comptroller General of Immigration Service Idris Issa Jere says the service will continue to train and retrain personnel to enhance service delivery. The Comptroller General of Immigration stated this while inaugurating Personnel Training Resource Center in Maiduguri. Memuna Garba will bring us details of this report subsequently. Now, the federal government has launched a National School Security and Emergency Response Coordination Center. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the center is situated at the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps headquarters in Abuja.
This edifice and vehicles equipped with the state-of-art security gadgets can access all schools across the nation, aimed at safeguarding students from attacks as recorded in previous years. Vulnerability survey conducted by the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps in 2021 gave the idea on the initiative.
I appreciate the Prime Minister of Finance for ensuring appropriate provisions to enable the smooth takeoff of this critical national security assignment.
First, that the government is ready to accelerate the implementation of the priorities identified in the Safe Schools Plan with the resources already provided for in the 2023 fiscal year budget.
Mr. President is very much concerned about the future of our children. He is very much concerned about the education of every Nigerian child. Education is the responsibility of every Nigerian child, particularly the education of the girl child.
Knowing how to react and respond in time of crisis to keep the students and staff out of harm's way is just a strategy to enable trained security personnel tackle the situation if they respond promptly.
Adequate financing and prompt release of funds for effective safe schools is what the federal government is assuring for educational development. In Abuja, Roman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Still on literacy, improving the quality of girl-child education is receiving a boost in Kebbi State with the renovation of block of classrooms, provision of potable water and grants to encourage school enrollment across the 21 local government areas of the state. Abdullahi Umar Ilalu reports.
Owing to the perennial challenges, the poor condition of many schools, low enrollment of the girl child, and the high financial academic burden, researchers say is a major factor hindering school development in Kebbi State. Maria Muhammad is a basic 9th class student of Comprehensive Girls Secondary School, Aleru.
I appreciate very well because
Before, we did not have toilets, we did not have books, we did not have blackboard, and we did not have whiteboard instead of marker.
This is why the state government is collaborating with the private sector to improve schools' welfare and encourage girl child school enrollment.
The project had commenced implementation with the renovation sub-component, renovation of school infrastructure, and the provision of water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities. So we have come to assess the level of implementation.
For the benefiting school principals, it was a stitch in time.
We will make sure that the facilities put in place, we will use them judiciously, and by God's grace we will maintain them.
I used to encourage them and advise them to work very hard.
Schools visited include secondary and primary schools in the state capital, Sabiel, Gashenza Matari, Danwarai, and Jega, among others. Abdullah Omari Lalu, NTA.
A large number of youth and adults who are beneficiaries of the National Social Investment Program of the Federal Capital Territory have expressed gratitude to the President for initiating such a laudable program. They also prayed for continuity. Ifeanyi Izumba reports.
Able to secure a federal job. I was permanented in FCT. Thank you, Mr. President.
I mean, the school enrollment was very, very low, but in the introduction of this very program, in fact, the enrollment of the school program stepped up very, very high because those feeding program attracted the children to be coming to school.
From the Empower, I was able to start up a small business that was supporting me.
These are beneficiaries of the Social Investment Program in FCT. They say it is time to give thanks to Mr. President for the laudable initiative. The group comprises of vendors of homegrown school feeding program, conditional cash transfer, government enterprise program, and Empower beneficiaries. The Minister of State FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, revealed at the rally that there is social inclusion as the focal person to the Minister of State has indeed worked assiduously towards the success of the program in FCT.
The program is deliberately designed to support the recovery of livelihood activities of poor and vulnerable persons.
The National Social Investment Program was launched in 2016 by the federal government.